Welcome to a Legendarium special about the horrifying story of Hans Christian Andersen's The Little Mermaid. Hans Christian Andersen was born on April 2nd, 1805 in the town of Odense, Denmark. Hans Andersen Sr. died in 1816, leaving his son and widow Anne-Marie. While the Andersen family did not enjoy great wealth, young Andersen enjoyed an education in boarding schools used by the sons of the rich. This has led to speculation that Andersen might have been an illegitimate member of the Danish royal family, but this, of course, is not known for certain. During his education, Andersen struggled with dyslexia, but still learned to read, though he struggled with writing, ironically. Fellow students also teased young Andersen at school for his strange appearance and high-pitched voice. Such experiences gave birth to beloved fairy tales like The Ugly Duckling, The Little Mermaid, and The Steadfast Tin Soldier. At age 11, young Andersen had to leave school briefly, and he worked in a factory to help support his mother. This experience did not last long, but it deeply affected young Andersen, much as a similar experience affected young Charles Dickens in the United Kingdom. In 1819, at age 14, Andersen traveled to Copenhagen to work as an actor. He again returned to school after a short time, this time supported by a patron named Jonas Collin. Andersen also began writing during this period at Collin's urging. Unfortunately, Andersen struggled with his spelling, and his handwritten copy remained riddled with typos. His publishers thankfully corrected this, but they did not tamper with Andersen's writing style, which he kept as close as possible to the spoken language as he could. After growing to manhood, Andersen not only became a famous writer, but he developed many strange fears. He feared dogs, and he did not eat pork because he worried he would contract trichinae, a parasite that can be found in pigs. Andersen also kept a long rope in his luggage while he traveled, in case he needed to escape a sudden fire. Andersen even feared that he would accidentally be declared dead and then buried alive, much like fellow writer Edgar Allan Poe. So before bed each night, Andersen propped up a note that read, "I only appear to be dead." Nonetheless, Hans Christian Andersen wrote a large body of work, including travelogues and works of adult fiction. Curiously, his fairy tales, written with adults in mind, tended to be overlooked by readers of his generation, yet they are what he is best known for today. In these fairy stories, Andersen placed his characters in terrifying and hopeless situations to reflect his own personal pain. Andersen's The Little Mermaid, written in 1837, proved far darker than the family-friendly movie it inspired in 1989. In Andersen's original story, an unnamed mermaid watches as her sisters visit the world beyond the surface once a year. She hears their stories and longs to visit herself. When she finally does, she falls in love with Prince Eric after saving him when his ship is suddenly sundered in a storm. She longs to be with him, yet mermaids live for 300 years and have no soul, merely becoming one with the sea foam. The idea of having an immortal soul and love entrances the Little Mermaid, and she visits a being known as the Sea Witch to realize her goal. After the transformation, the Sea Witch tells the Little Mermaid that she can never return to the sea alive, and the only way for her to gain an eternal soul is to earn Prince Eric's love. She also loses her tongue, but gains the ability to dance incredibly well. Yet the sea witch's curse makes the little mermaid feel as if she walks on knives at all times. While the mermaid becomes Prince Eric's companion, he never actually falls in love with her, but instead marries a princess whom he falsely believes saved her from the shipwreck on that fateful night. The mermaid's enraged sisters then make their own bargain with the sea witch. In exchange for giving the sea witch their hair, they receive a dagger which the little mermaid must use to murder Eric. Only then can she return to the sea and one day become one with the ocean. However, the little mermaid is unable to kill Prince Eric and his bride, and instead she dives into the sea, believing she will be transformed into sea foam. Instead, she meets earth spirits who tell her that she will do good deeds for 300 years, and after that, she can enter heaven as an immortal. This ends Andersen's strikingly grim telling of The Little Mermaid. Unfortunately, Andersen would not live forever, being diagnosed with liver cancer during his recovery from a fall from his bed in 1872. After Andersen's doctors diagnosed him, the Danish government began commemorating his life and began work on a statue in his honor. The Danish government also started paying Andersen a stipend, which allowed him to live out his final days in modest comfort, even when he could no longer write. Today, Andersen's birthday is celebrated as International Children's Book Day, observed on April 12th. Today, Andersen is the 8th most translated author in world history, just behind Vladimir Lenin. His works have been reproduced in more than 125 languages, though some fear that shoddy translations left his reputation outside Scandinavia lesser than it should have been. Yet he is ensured immortality through stories like The Little Mermaid. That wraps things up for this episode of The Legendarium. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, press like. If you want to see more, press subscribe. And if you've got anything to say, let me know in the comments section. Thanks again for joining me, and I hope that you have a great rest of the day.